My brother faked being homeless for years to scam our family. When I sued him for fraud, he accused me of lying. Then we found out about his secret Miami villa. I'm 35M, a paramedic living in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've got 2 kids, a mortgage, and a scar on my neck from the time a teenager mistook me for a threat during a seizure. Life has always been chaotic, but manageable, until my older brother David flipped my world inside out. David is 38, charming, persuasive, and possibly the best liar I've ever met. When we were kids, he used to con kids out of lunch money with made-up sob stories. Back then, it was just annoying, but over the years it evolved into something way darker. About 6 years ago, David showed up at my door with a duffel bag and a broken phone. His girlfriend had kicked him out, he said. He'd lost his job. He had no place to go. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? I let him crash on our couch for a few days. A few days turned into 3 months. During that time, my wife Lisa, who's the real MVP in all of this, cooked extra meals, helped him update his resume, even drove him to job interviews. But nothing stuck. Either the job wasn't a good fit, or the manager was shady. Always an excuse. Always a story. Then one night, after we'd already gone to bed, Lisa got up to get water and caught David on the phone in the kitchen, laughing. He didn't sound desperate. He sounded smug. The next morning, Lisa told me she overheard him talking about his setup and how he was riding the sympathy train. I confronted him. He swore it was just bravado, that he was talking to an old friend, trying to save face. But something in me shifted that day. We helped him get into a halfway house program a few weeks later. He made a show of being grateful, even hugged Lisa with tears in his eyes. That's the last time he lived under my roof. But it wasn't the last time he lived off me. Over the next 5 years, David would ping-pong around the family, first to our cousin Jake's basement, then Aunt Marilyn's garage apartment. Each time, same story, lost job, abusive girlfriend, down on his luck. And each time he left behind a wake of unpaid bills, missing valuables, and one time Jake swears by this a mysterious credit card opened in his name. I began to suspect something deeper was going on. I started tracking little inconsistencies in David's stories. He always seemed to have new shoes, even when he was supposedly broke. He once showed up to a family dinner, wearing a designer watch he claimed was a gift from a church buddy. That same night, I noticed he had the newest iPhone. I started a shared folder on my phone, called AboutHis. Every time he slipped up, mentioning a location that didn't fit his story, photos tagged in places he shouldn't be. I logged it. Lisa thought I was being obsessive. He's just lost, she said. Not evil. But then came the hospital bill. David had used my name during an ER visit in Wilmington. He told them he didn't have ID, but gave my birthday and insurance info. I found out when I got a collections notice 2 months later. That's when I snapped. I filed a police report. The detective I spoke with, Officer Lomas, was skeptical at first. But after I gave him access to the folder I'd compiled, timestamps, voice messages, receipts, he started taking it seriously. That's when David retaliated. He started telling people I was making it up, that I was jealous of him, that I resented helping him. At a family barbecue, he pulled Mom aside and said I'd always hated him because he was the golden child. My own mother started acting cold toward me. Then I got subpoenaed. David had filed a civil claim, accusing me of defamation and emotional abuse. He painted himself as a vulnerable, recovering addict who'd been targeted by a vengeful brother. And he brought witnesses, 2 old friends who backed up his version. I felt like I was going insane, but then, the Miami photo dropped. I was scrolling through Facebook late one night, doom scrolling to avoid another panic attack, when I saw it. A woman named Celine had posted vacation pictures. In one of them, clear as day, was David, shirtless, tanned, standing on the balcony of a luxury villa with a caption, "Best week ever in South Beach." My heart raced. I reverse-searched the image, the villa rented for $1,300 a night. I dug deeper and found more photos. David jet skiing, at a spa, clubbing, all within the past 6 months, while he was supposedly unemployed and homeless. I sent it all to Officer Lomas. He called me the next morning, his voice sharper than usual. "We're pulling financials," he said. "I need you to sit tight, but this could turn criminal real fast." I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw David's smug face on that Miami balcony. I kept imagining him laughing, probably drinking mojitos, while my credit got destroyed and my family tore itself apart defending him. 3 days later, Lomas called again. "Your brother has 3 bank accounts under different aliases," he said. "All active, all flush." Flush. That word hit me like a punch in the ribs. Turns out, David had been using a combination of stolen identities, mostly distant family members, one even from a childhood friend who'd passed away, to open accounts and secure wire transfers. He received regular payments from a consulting firm based in the Cayman Islands. The shell company didn't even exist on paper, but the money sure did. Lomas told me the accounts totaled over $480,000. I remember just sitting on the porch, gripping the railing, trying to stay upright. This wasn't just a lie. This wasn't just family drama. This was organized, calculated fraud. And I had receipts now. I called Lisa first. She just whispered, "Oh my God," and then didn't speak for a full minute. She finally said, He made me feel guilty for not doing more. And he had a beach house. Yeah, and not just any beach house. A week later, Lomas asked if I wanted to be there when they confronted David. I said yes, I had to. They picked him up outside of our cousin Tamara's place. He was wearing aviators, sipping a smoothie, completely relaxed. I stayed in the car while Lomas and his partner approached. At first David looked annoyed, then confused, then panicked. As soon as they mentioned the Miami villa, he dropped the smoothie. It splattered across the pavement like a popped balloon. They cuffed him right there. He started shouting that it was all a mistake, that he was being framed. He even tried to yell toward my car, "Tell them the truth, Eli." I didn't move. 2 days later, I got the call I'd been waiting for. Federal case, Lomas said. Wire fraud, identity theft, tax evasion. There's more, but we're still building it. I thought I'd feel vindicated, but mostly I felt hollow. Like someone had scooped out all the hope I ever had that David might turn things around. It wasn't just that he lied, it's that he lived in those lies, like they were more real than his family. Then the civil trial started. Even with the federal charges pending, David's suit against me hadn't been dropped yet. He insisted that I'd slandered him, destroyed his reputation, and caused undue emotional damage. It was surreal. His lawyer, some slick guy in a tailored blue suit, tried to spin the narrative. "Your Honor, my client is a victim of character assassination by his own brother." But Lomas had already shared the Miami photos, the wire transfers, and the alias records with the court. The judge took one look at the file and said, "I'll be issuing a formal dismissal with prejudice." Boom. Case closed. But the fallout, that was just beginning. My mom didn't take it well. She called me crying, said she didn't understand how her sweet boy could do this. I told her she didn't have to. She just had to stop pretending it wasn't real. Dad was more direct. He's a con artist. Always has been. Then he paused and said, "I just hoped I was wrong." The rest of the family split down the middle. Aunt Marilyn sent me a rambling email about how David has a good heart, even if he's made mistakes. Jake, on the other hand, bought me a beer and said, "You were right, that jerk stole my AirPods." But it wasn't until a week later that the final twist landed. I got a certified letter in the mail from a Miami real estate office. It was a lease. David had signed a 6-month lease on the villa using a fake name, Nathan Reed, but listed my number as the emergency contact. That's how they found me. Enclosed with the lease was a photo of the property. It wasn't just a vacation rental, it was a whole operation. The real estate agent noted that David had hosted several parties under the guise of a luxury wellness coach. He charged people thousands of dollars to detox and reset their mindset. He even sold fake supplements. My brother, the man who once cried on my couch and told me he had nowhere left to go, had been running a high-end scam retreat in South Beach. I remember staring at the photo, him standing with a group of tan influencers on yoga mats, and thinking, what the hell did I ever know about this guy? That night, I stood out back with a beer, looking at the stars. Lisa came out and joined me. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then she said, "Do you think he ever loved any of us?" I didn't answer, because honestly, I still don't know. The night after I got the Miami villa lease, I couldn't sleep. I tossed, turned, even tried pacing the hallway like that would make my thoughts shut up. At one point, I found myself standing in the kitchen at 2 a.m., holding a spoon over the sink, eating peanut butter straight from the jar. It felt like the only thing in my life that hadn't been tampered with by David. By morning, my phone lit up with news alerts. Local outlets first, then CNN, then some finance blog with the headline, "Fake Wellness Guru Busted in Multi-State Scam, Used Brother's Identity in South Beach Retreat." And there he was, David's mugshot. Right beneath it, a photo of him smiling next to a woman in yoga pants and a golden retriever puppy. I barely got through breakfast before my phone started blowing up. Messages from coworkers, old high school friends, people I hadn't heard from in years. One text read, "Dude, is this your brother? Wild. Also, how are you?" How was I? I was unraveling, and it only got worse. 2 days later, I got a call from an attorney named Robin Weiss. "I represent a group of individuals who paid for services through your brother's retreat," she said. Her voice clipped and professional. "We're initiating a civil suit. Your name appears in several of the retreat's documents." What? I nearly dropped my phone. "You're listed as an emergency response consultant on his brochure," she continued. "There's a promotional flyer showing you wearing scrubs, standing next to a photo of a coastline." I've never even been to Florida," I said. "I believe you," she replied, "but we'll need your official statement." That's when she emailed me the files. And there it was. Eli Carter, paramedic and wellness coordinator. A completely fake quote next to my name. "I believe in healing from the inside out." He didn't just drag me into this. He made me the face of it. I called Lisa, my voice shaking. He used my job, my face. I'm in his brochure like I'm on his team. There was silence on her end, then a deep breath. "He didn't just scam strangers. He tried to make you his cover." Robin's office arranged for me to give a deposition. They were polite but firm. One of them asked, "Did you ever agree to be affiliated with the Awakened Men's Collective?" The name alone made me flinch. "No," I answered, "never. I didn't even know what it was until this week." They nodded, scribbled notes, handed me a flash drive before I left. "You should hear this," Robin's assistant said gently. It was a voicemail. David's voice, smooth and casual, talking to one of his investors. Yeah, Eli's in, he said. He doesn't know he's in, which honestly works better. Clean record, real job, looks great on paper, gives us legitimacy. Plausible deniability, right? I sat on my porch with that flash drive in my lap, too stunned to cry, too angry to scream. Later that night, Lisa and I sat outside in the dark. She handed me a beer without saying a word. The silence between us was thicker than usual. Finally, she asked, "What's the plan?" "I don't know," I said. "Every time I think I've seen the last of it, another trap door opens." 2 days later, another one did. Lisa's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Florida area code. She put it on speaker, a young woman's voice trembling. "Hi, is this Lisa Carter? I'm so sorry to call like this. My name is Martina. I think we need to talk." I could already feel it, the chill creeping up my spine. "I'm pregnant," Martina said, "and David told me you were his sister-in-law. He said his brother passed away, that he dedicated his life to helping men because of it, but now he's in the news and I—" She broke down crying. Lisa and I exchanged a glance. I mouthed, "He said I died?" Martina collected herself. I need to know, was any of it true? Was he ever the man he said he was?" I took the phone gently from Lisa. "Martina," I said, voice calm but tired. "I think the man you met is someone David created, a version he needed people to see." She sniffled. "Do you think he ever cared about me?" I hesitated. I wanted to soften the blow, to leave room for doubt. But she deserved better than that. "I think he cared about the control," I said. "He cared about being worshipped, but love? I don't think he knows how." She was quiet for a while. Then, "I'm sorry, I didn't know who else to call." "You called the right people," Lisa said gently. After we hung up, Lisa turned to me. "A baby." I nodded. "And now she's part of it too." That night I sat in our daughter's room after she fell asleep, staring at the nightlight pulsing soft stars on the ceiling. I tried to imagine what it would be like to raise a child, knowing their father was a fraud who left pain like breadcrumbs. How do you explain that to a kid? How do you explain that the villain of your story shares your last name? Even now, with David behind bars awaiting trial, his damage keeps echoing outward, like a bomb that doesn't explode once, but again and again, each time someone new realizes what he took from them. Each time someone calls, asking for answers I'll never have. The trial started 6 weeks later. Federal court, full media presence, and a long list of charges that stretched across 2 states, 3 aliases, and nearly a dozen victims, including me. I showed up the first day wearing my uniform. It wasn't a flex, I just needed to remind myself who I actually was, because for years, David had blurred that line. Turned me into a prop in his scam, a background character in his invented life. He didn't look at me once. He sat with his lawyers, tapping his fingers, jaw clenched like he was still in control. Like somehow this was all just a misunderstanding he could talk his way out of. But the prosecutors had everything: bank records, retreat contracts, fake supplement invoices, forged signatures, including mine. They had photos of the villa, video testimonials from scammed clients, and that voicemail where he said I looked great on paper. I testified on day 3. They asked me when I first suspected he was lying. I told them about the broken phone, the tears, the months on my couch. I told them about the ER bill that came in my name, about the Miami photo, about the voicemail where I learned I was part of his scam without my consent. The judge nodded slowly. The jury watched me closely. When I stepped down from the stand, Lisa squeezed my hand and whispered, "You did good." It took them 4 hours to deliberate. Guilty, on all counts. The judge read the verdict aloud as David sat motionless, his fingers no longer tapping. For the first time in my life, he looked like he didn't have a story ready. He was sentenced to 14 years. No bail, no appeals that would stick, just a long stretch in federal prison, and for once, no one left to canton. But here's the truth they don't show in the courtroom. Justice doesn't feel like victory. It feels like relief mixed with mourning. I walked out of that courthouse and felt lighter, but not whole. That night Lisa and I drove home in silence. When we got to the house, our daughter was asleep on the couch, one hand wrapped around her stuffed bear. Lisa looked at me and said, "It's over," and I said, "No, but it's quiet now." The next week Martina gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She named him Noah. She didn't put David's name on the birth certificate. She sent us a photo, her and Noah wrapped in a soft blue blanket, a tiny smile on his face like he had no idea what kind of legacy he'd narrowly avoided. I stared at that photo for a long time, and then I printed it. I keep it tucked into the back of my wallet, not as a reminder of David, but as a promise that the story can stop with us, that even after years of lies, someone gets to start clean. I still don't talk to half of my extended family. They don't really know what to say. That's okay. I've got my kids, my wife, my life. I don't need to be believed by people who never asked questions in the first place. But sometimes, late at night, I sit on the porch with a beer and think about that first night David showed up at my door, all broken and desperate, and I wonder how much of it was real. Maybe just enough to make the rest of it believable.